This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. People right now are in cover your butt mode. Today, I think everybody's seen the news of Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor being arrested and held for hours by British police Thursday on suspicion of misconduct in public office related to his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this is just my opinion, but out of all days to go and arrest Andrew, they go and arrest him on his birthday. Now, I don't know how it works in the UK, but someone high profile like Andrew, normally here in the United States, they would be given the option to go and turn themselves in. So I'm just wondering, is this all for show? It feels very compartmentalized, almost as if this is part of the show and they are acting like they are responding. And the reason why I say that is because so much trust has been broken by these people with all the lies and the corruption and the damage that they are causing, not only to the nations, but also the future. And we're talking about the kids. The cat's out of the bag now. I don't think anybody can dispute that Epstein and Andrew were thick as thieves. But what this is really all about is the money laundering, the espionage, and the selling of the state secrets is why all of these people are running scared. They don't care about these girls. They don't care about the people that they have harmed. They care about their power, their money, as well as the whole system collapsing that they had in place to defraud and cheat the system. Because that's really what was going on here. Now, with this arrest with Andrew today, I think it's being used as the so-called official investigation to basically then go ahead and shut it down. Does anybody believe that the UK investigation is going to be honest? Certainly not with this current Labour government in play. And that's the thing that is kind of concerning, because why put on this whole show if we all know how this is going to end? And I do think that the king now stepping in and issuing a statement, to me, I feel kind of hollow, because where was this energy when there wasn't a spotlight on the royal family for this? You must have had known that there was something coming down the pike last year, hence the reason why the decision to strip Andrew's titles was made. Now we have this statement that's come out. You can bet that the PR team for the palace really took some time to get together and craft something that makes it sound like they actually give a shit. Now, hopefully, many of you are recognizing how the public is manipulated by the media and not get sucked into being emotionally manipulated. Because I don't know if you've seen some things that are being said about how they feel so bad for the royal family, especially Charles, because he's got cancer and all he wants to do is be a good king. Don't fall into it. I don't feel bad for the royal family for a second. And you want to know why? It's because they chose to do nothing this whole entire time. And now that their backs are up against the wall and it is potentially about to bring the whole house down, only now it's we have to come across as that we're willing to help. We're willing to be transparent when we all know that they're not going to be transparent. I'm not talking about all of the family members. I'm talking about the institution. The organization. I'm so turned off right now because you can see that a lot of what's being done is for the optics. It's reactive. It doesn't feel genuine. And almost in a sense, a little too late, because there have been many times when people have turned to the king and the royal family to say something, at least with what's happening with the UK right now and all of those little girls getting groomed and raped and still going on. As well as you've got the open borders and the safety of the people being jeopardized as a result of incompetent government. And for those that are going to lecture me about this being a constitutional monarchy and Charles can't do this and Charles can't do that, save it, please, because we all know that that's bullshit. Charles is behind the scenes inserting himself. I mean, why do you think the UK is down this dangerous path in the first place? It's all because of his influence. Who do you think is behind the World Economic Forum and this Agenda 2030 back in the 90s? It was because of this class, the Epstein class, a class that Charles, unfortunately, is a part of. So I don't even want to hear that he has no power or influence. Maybe Publicly, he won't do it because he needs to somewhat appear that he is neutral, but behind the scenes, he's very well driving a lot of these agendas, especially the disastrous climate one. Let's not pretend the royal family is not involved here, okay? The whole philanthropy setup, even how the royal family's charities are structured. I know many of you don't want to hear this, but those foundations and trusts that the royal family have, they are set up with the architecture that Jeffrey Epstein created. And now, with these files validating what many have been saying for years, that this architecture and setup with these NGOs are designed specifically for one goal in mind, and that is to make profit. The relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was always about money and power. Make no mistake, recollections are definitely going to vary, and we're going to begin to start seeing more and more of these testimonies kicking off today, not only with Andrew's arrest, but also with Les Wexner's testimony. And at one point in this 4-hour testimony, he talks about former Prince Andrew. This story, I'm sorry, I don't buy it for 1 second. But you guys decide. Take a look.
We also understand from your counsel's proffer that you interacted with a number of other prominent people who knew and had dealings with Epstein, including Prince Andrew, various professors at Harvard, perhaps a sultan of some sort in Dubai, perhaps Howard Lutnick. With respect to Prince Andrew, who has also been accused of sexual misconduct in connection with at least one woman trafficked by Mr. Epstein, did you ever see or become aware of this interaction between Prince Andrew and one of these young women?
I never met Prince Andrew, so I wasn't aware of anything other than...
No chatter about that in terms of you're dealing with either introduced by Mr. Epstein or by Ghislaine Maxwell. That whole interaction between those two and Prince Andrew. You have any knowledge of that?
I had no conversations, interactions with Prince Andrew about women or anything. I had one brief, like 2-sentence phone conversation. He called me here in Columbus.
And what was that for?
To me, it's a funny story. I'm getting ready to go to work. I think I was in the garage, and my wife or somebody came out and said, "You have a phone call." Maybe it wasn't my wife, but it was somebody. And they said, "It's a guy that says he's the Duke of York." And I thought, the Duke of York, what the hell is that? So I went in the kitchen, hello, and this is Andrew. I don't think he said this is Andrew, Duke of York. This is Andrew Windsor, or whatever he called himself. And I said, hello. And he said, I helped my mother buy her airplane. And I know that you buy and sell airplanes, so if I could be of service with you in airplane transactions, I could help. And I said, no, thank you. We're covered. And have a nice day. And hung up and just kind of laughed my ass off that the Duke of York called me about.
So he cold called you to sell you an airplane or to help you buy an airplane?
It was airplane advice because he'd helped his mother.
Plane that you eventually sold to Mr. Epstein?
Oh, no. It was just, it had nothing to do with anything that was going on.
So now, do you see why this sounds so asinine? The fact that Andrew is calling like a used airplane salesman. Like, how bizarre is the story to bring up the late Queen and say that Andrew helped almost essentially broker the deal for the Queen's airplane? I thought that was something given by the Royal Air Force, the RAF. I thought those planes were already provided for the royal family. That's not something you're like negotiating and shopping around for. Now, why would Prince Andrew want to help Les Wexner with airplane transactions? No, there's another reason why Andrew called Les Wexner. You just don't call and say, hey, we've never talked before, but would you like me to help negotiate airplanes for you? I somehow doubt that that's the way the conversation went, especially catching him on his way out to his 9-to-5 job.
It was like, I know that you buy and sell airplanes in your business. I know you have buy an airplane personally, and I know you buy and sell airplanes. And when you do, if you need an advisor, I'm available. And it's like, no, thank you, I'm covered.
So he offered to advise you on purchasing airplanes.
Pardon? Did he?
He offered to advise you? I'm just trying to understand why the Prince of York would be calling you about buying.
Yeah, me too. It was like out of the blue. I mean, you could have called me up that day and said you were the Prince of York and you want to advise me on my lunch or something. I was like, what the hell is this?
If you would have recognized the difference in accents.
Yeah, maybe.
So for those that don't know who Les Wexner is, he is an American billionaire retail businessman and founder of the Limited Brands, which owned Victoria's Secret. So why would this guy need a whole fleet of planes?
Les got some 747 cargo jets and helped establish Rickenbacker Airport as a thriving hub for international cargo.
1995, a company called Southern Air Transport relocates from Miami to Columbus, Ohio, with the assistance of Les Wexner. Southern Air Transport had been involved and connected to Iran-Contra.
Southern Air Transport was owned by the CIA.
We know the royals have involvement with arms trading. Could this have had something to do with it?
Now it's a private company, but its competitors still call it the CIA's favorite airline.
Epstein himself boasted that he had connections to the CIA.
Epstein visited the Clinton White House 17 times. 12 of those times happened in 1994 alone, the year before Les Wexner helps relocate Southern Air Transport from Miami to Columbus. Now, what business might Jeffrey Epstein have had at the Clinton White House?
I think the missing element that we have with Wes's story about Andrew just calling him up saying, hey, would you like some friendly advice on how to buy an airplane? I think it would have been appropriate to ask, when did this call take place? Because if it took place in the 90s, then there you go.
We don't know. We may never know.
Were you ever made aware at any point in your handling of this case if Mr. Epstein was an intelligence asset of some sort?
So there has been reporting to that effect, and let me say, there's been reporting to a lot of effects in this case, not just now but over the years, and again,
Alexander Acosta was the lawyer for the Southern District in Miami during Epstein's slap on the wrist conviction.
I don't think it really matters what any of these people have to say. Because does anybody believe that they're going to actually now have a change in heart and tell the truth? No, I don't think so. Especially if it means that if they tell the truth, they could go to jail for life. They're going to take their chances and they're going to lie their faces off. Believe you me. And in this case with Andrew, we've seen him do it to us in that interview. We've seen Meghan Markle do it. They all truly believe that they don't have to adhere to the same rules that we have to. So if they want to lie, they're going to go ahead and tell the Met Police whatever they feel like telling to make them look as innocent as possible. I'm going to go ahead and leave you with this last clip of another Andrew who I think makes total sense in how many of us are seeing this arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
So Prince Andrew just got arrested. That's interesting. For his ties to Epstein. Because Prince Andrew and Epstein were best buddies. And we've had evidence of this for years. Everyone's known it for years. But of course, nothing was done. They just ignored the evidence for a very long time. But now they've taken action. They're going to arrest him and they're going to question him and release him on bail. Interesting. You know, when these same people who are on the Epstein list declared me a national security threat in 2022 and decided to try and destroy my influence by accusing me of sex trafficking, they didn't have the evidence that they have on Prince Andrew. They had no evidence against me. And not only was I arrested, I was put in jail for 4 months. All of my assets were seized. Every bank account, all of my cars, all of my watches, my gold, my crypto, everything was taken. I was slandered in the media endlessly and locked in my house for 4 years without trial before they eventually threw out the entire case because there was never any evidence in the first place. So I wonder, considering that Prince Andrew has far more evidence against him than has ever existed against me, will he be in jail for 4 months? Will he be locked in his house for 4 years? Will he lose access to all of his money and cars and wealth? No. You know what's going to happen? Guys, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. He's going to be arrested. He's going to be bailed. The news cycle's going to move on. And nothing's going to fucking happen. Nothing ever fucking happens to these people. Hugh Edwards was the guy on the BBC shouting and screaming about how I am a dangerous person and that I traffic women. And then Hugh Edwards himself, the BBC presenter, gets convicted of sexual crimes because he is a pedophile. He, the pedophile, was saying I was the bad guy. You literally couldn't make this up. And he was convicted of sexual crimes. Did he go to jail? Nope. Released. No jail for him. Just a fine. But I went to jail. All these elites don't buy into this show trial, show bullshit. They know that we know too much, so now they're going to sit and pretend that justice exists for the people at the top. These fuckers don't face justice ever. Keep an eye on this Prince Andrew crap and watch nothing happen. Nothing ever happens to these scumbags. And it's going to stay the same as long as your stupid ass keeps paying them taxes. If you keep giving them money and you don't sit there and even think, you know what? I am funding pedophilia. It is my moral duty to not pay taxes to these people anymore. If you're going to sit there like a fucking cuck, like a fucking coward and go, oh, I don't want to get a fine from HMRC, then they're going to continue to little kids on your dime, and you are complicit. You've now reached the point in these Western democratic societies, we've now reached the point of absolute degradation where if you are doing as they tell you to do, you're not just stupid. You're actually immoral and complicit. You are aiding pedophilia. You are aiding the damage that is happening to young kids all around the world. You are aiding a weaponized state, which will come against the people who highlight the truth. You're aiding lawfare against people like me who do nothing wrong purely because we point out what they do wrong. It is your moral obligation to resist paying for this bullshit.
Some of them will be embarrassed, but some of them need to go to prison, and the survivors know that. So how will we know if this bill has been successful? We will know when there are men, rich men, in handcuffs being perp-walked to the jail. And until then, this is still a cover-up.
We truly are at a tipping point right now, and it's no longer right versus left, but truly about good versus evil. And what we have been dealing with is indeed pure evil. But what did you guys think this morning when you saw the news about Andrew being arrested? I didn't expect that this morning, but I'll tell you this much. I do think that this is probably the first domino to fall, with many more dominoes to be falling. And I do hope that there will be more arrests, because exactly like what Massey said, like if there aren't people being held accountable, then this is just another cover up. And I don't think people right now are just going to go back to being the same and wanting to continue with the current people who are in power, especially if they are doing the things that are being reported in these files. We should be ashamed of ourselves as a human species to be doing this. And, these people don't care. And that's the disgusting thing about all of it. Like, I really do want to see some type of remorse, and I do want to see punishment, like hard punishment. And I'm talking capital punishment for the crimes that were committed against all those children. We need something to change, because we can't go on with people like this in power. We just can't. And I truly do want these people locked up. I'm in the camp of, you know what? If the whole system collapses, let it collapse and burn to the ground. Because if this is based on this foundation of evil, I don't want anything of it. I don't want to live in a world where you have these demonic people running around calling the shots over everybody's lives and playing God. God did not give these people the right to take away our freedoms. He didn't. And that's something that we need to recognize is happening right now and say no. No, we don't want any of it. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.